Now, one person we did hear from today for the first time, Karen Reed herself, doubling down, of course, saying she did not do this. She wants to know who did.
Said it feels we're the only ones fighting for the truth of what happened to John O'Keefe. And me and my family and my attorneys and my team have marshaled every resource to get to the truth. It just feels like no one else wants it.
Karen, just to be clear, you didn't do it.
We know who did it, Steve. We know. And we know who spearheaded this cover-up. You all know.
Yes, we do.
And no, she didn't do it. No, she didn't do it. This is an innocent woman. She didn't do it.
I tried to save his life.
Yeah.
I tried to save his life at 6 in the morning. I was covered in the only one trying to save his life.
Why'd you admit to it?
She didn't admit to it. She didn't admit to anything close to that. Nothing close to that. And you should know that.
That was like 3 or 4 times she admitted to it.
No, she didn't.
That's not true.
She asked a question. She asked a question, which is very different. She didn't admit to anything.
You are listening to the Roberta Glass True Crime Report, putting the true back in true crime. From New York City, Roberta Glass is now on the record.
Okay. How is everybody? Wanted to talk to you today about Karen Reed and who's really behind her campaign, or who really started or set fire to it or set motion to it. It's a better way to put it. And I want to try to do this in a time orderly manner. Is that even a phrase that makes any sense? Because at 7 p.m. in an hour, the Society page, one of my fantastic moderators, thank you, along with Murder by Maestro and Tammie, thank you all, is having a live, so I'll be over at his channel. So really want to talk about who did this. And there's a really big clue as to how this whole Free Karen Reed, what I'd call an innocence fraud campaign, began. And it really began with Karen Reed. I mean, spoiler alert, Karen Reed, her legal team, and blogger Aidan Turtleboy Kearney, who seems to have now been pushed aside. It's really interesting in this search warrant for Karen Reed's cell phones, meaning she has 2. And this is a subject that my friend has been bringing up to me. Did Karen Reed have 2 cell phones? Pretty interesting question. Were all the information from both, were there 2 cell phones recovered or just 1? And we still haven't seen really we haven't really seen much of the cell phone data from her in this case yet. But that'll be interesting. So, and this was done by Detective Brian Tully in Aidan Turtleboy Kearney's witness harassment case. But boy, does it say a whole lot about how the Free Karen Reed campaign was built and made and how it was making money. So basically, it sounds like Aidan Kearney was making money off of clicks and views to his website, his YouTube channel, and he was being fed information by Karen, but if this document is correct, and her team. And sometimes even they would conflict because Alan Jackson would say it's okay to to let out, but Karen didn't want the footage out, the trooper footage out. And boy, we realize why that she wouldn't want that out now, having seen it in the trial. It makes her look terrible. But let's get into it. I'm going to skip forward. It's very interesting. All the details. I'm going to just highlight a few to really go into the campaign of the witness harassment. But I think that might be for another day, because it's really, if you know anything about the law, I mean, it'll be amazing if Aidan Kearney gets out of this. He's documented so much of his own witness harassment. So let us look at it. So this is from the 22nd, of January 2024. And you can see it's for an iPhone with a green case and a white iPhone with a clear case. And it's belonging to Karen Reed that they want to go through. Any mobile device capable of communicating and cell phones used by Karen Reed, and it gives her date of birth. Seizure only, no search of data as outlined in the affidavit. And it describes Detective Lieutenant Brian Tully's background, which is impressive and long. And then it goes into the John O'Keefe case and how he was found. Then it goes into the witnesses in this case, so you know who the witnesses are. And then it identifies who Aidan Kearney is, which I'm shocked that so many people following this case still don't know. He's a local blogger. Aidan Kearney has adopted defense's claims. Kearney runs a series of websites and social media accounts under the name Turtleboy. The social media accounts include Turtleboy News on X, former Twitter, 33,800 followers, and this was in January. 33,800 followers. That's in January. Aidan Kearney at Dr. Turtleboy. That's how. At Dr. Turtleboy, he had 50,000 followers. At Turtleboy, he had 37,000 Facebook followers. On Turtleboy Live on YouTube, he had 48,000 subscribers. Kearney refers to his followers as Turtle Riders. And beginning on April 18th, 2023, Kearney began posting articles to his website and social media accounts where he adopted the defense allegations as true and makes personal attacks on the civilian witnesses, members of their family and their friends. Kearney authors and publishes a blog on the website tbdailynews.com. The website has a series of articles entitled Canton Cover-Up. As of December 21st, at least 259 articles have been posted to the website under this category regarding Karen Reed. So then it gets into his YouTube videos. So just to give you a flavor of some of this witness harassment before we move forward. My apologies. Kearney posts weekly videos to YouTube where he has discussed Karen Reed and made statements regarding witnesses. Below are a small selection of verbal statements made by Kearney in these videos that have been published to his followers and are publicly available for viewing without being a subscriber or follower, and have been archived by investigators. So one episode, it's called Turtleboy Returns to Canton. He's saying, this is not my last trip to Canton. I will be back. I'll be back. Get used to this. These people think that I'm effing around. You haven't seen the last of me. Get used to it. Get used to it. And then in episode 598, breaking, Karen Reed defense files motion to recuse. This guy, and he's speaking of Chris Albert, has his head on the swivel looking for turtle riders. I got bad news for you, Chris. I got really bad news for you. They are literally everywhere. You guys should just stop going out in public. It's only going to get worse from here. I know where you all were today. You were in Agawam, weren't you? You guys were at some sort of like little league thing in Agawam. Alberts, McCabe's, all you people were there. Just know there will be no life is normal is over. Life is normal is over for a while. There from January 29th to April 2023. So he knows exactly when his first article was. You guys literally got away with murder. So it's the ultimate reversal. This is really a common tactic of innocence fraud campaigns, reversing and accusing innocent people, pretty much projection of exactly what you're doing. So he often says you're either protecting a murderer, you're involved in a conspiracy to protect a murderer. And so it's turning things on their head. So now innocent witnesses are now to be equated with the accused murderer. And it's just, I have pictures of you. You can't leave the effing country. I mean, just very disturbing, going to their homes, going to their places of business. But the most interesting of these, and just to give you and filming it all, putting it on his YouTube channel, Aidan Kearney harassing these, at what I would call harassing these witnesses. And that's up for, obviously, the police agree with me. And the DA trying Kearney agree with me that it's harassment or they wouldn't be trying him. But it's for a jury to decide. But the most interesting is that for me in this, is that he calls Colin Albert's cell phone and he basically reenacts the clip that we heard in court of Colin Albert, the bang bang. Remember Alan Jackson? I'm going to call this bang bang. So where he looked a little drunk, Colin Albert, in that clip, but he was threatening a rival team, and he basically says that we're about that. We're from Sharon's son. Y'all Canton bitches ain't hot, us. And he ends it. Your dad kicked me out of your pizza shack, and I don't get to eat his mediocre chicken parm. So I just wanted to know if you could talk to me about that, and maybe you could go. We could find them advantage. Bang, bang, bang. So the only way Aidan Kearney would have known that is if he was handed that video, and he's seen that video. No one else really knew about the existence of that bang bang video before. And I would think that is from Karen Reed's private investigator to the defense team looking into all the witnesses, I would think, if not. So I thought that was interesting. Going forward, so it goes into his Rolling Road rally where he had protesters who would travel to the homes of witnesses, and the police got word of this. And so you can see that they set up cameras to film it. That was pretty interesting. And there are all the details of that There's another shot for you. The police were prepared. I mean, he'd become such a absolute terror to these innocent witnesses and had encouraged. So he not only harassed them, but he encouraged his followers to keep it up. We're not putting up with this, and calling them killers and the worst things in the world, accusing them of, and going to and sometimes branching out to the witnesses' extended family. So this is where it starts talking about the building of the PR. So information subsequent to the arrest of Aidan Kearney on October 17th, 2023, I interviewed Natale Wawiki Berschneider at her workplace in Gardena, California. Natale stated she attended Bentley University with Karen Reed from 1998 to 2002, and you can hear clips of this interview on Innocence Fraud Watch's channel. Natale stated she was not close friends with Karen, but had friends in common. Following graduation, Natale returned to California and had lost touch with Karen. So she wasn't even a really close friend with Karen, but look what she's willing to do for her, which I found so amazing. Following Karen's February 2022 arrest related to the death of John O'Keefe, Natale contacted Karen to offer support and began a friendship. Natale stated Karen openly shared her defense theories about the case, which Natale stated she believed at the time. In April 2023, Natale noticed a woman by the name of Jennifer Altman on social media who was defending Karen in the comments of news reports regarding Karen's criminal case. Natale stated she contacted Jennifer on Facebook in order to thank her for supporting Karen. Jennifer responded she had a friend, Aidan Kearney, who runs a blog. So you guys getting that? So Natale noticed Jennifer Altman's supportive post on social media, and they contacted on Facebook thanking her for her support. And Jennifer Altman wrote back, "Hey, I have this friend, Aidan Kearney, who runs a blog and would like to report on Karen Reed's criminal case." During this text message conversation on April 13th, 2023, Natale sent the following message to Jennifer: "The feds are involved," and described how people were going down. We're still waiting for that, aren't we all? Aren't we, everybody, still waiting for the feds? They've been promising. It's almost like a guru or some kind of cult leader predicts the end of the world, and it just keeps like next week. It's going to come next week, and it just never comes. Natale spoke to Karen about Kearney the following day. Karen told Natale she would like Kearney to report on the case. On April 17th, Natale was put into contact with Kearney through Jennifer. Natale exchanged messages with Kearney and spoke with him on the phone about Karen's case. Shortly after Karen agreed to work with Kearney, Karen instructed Natale to download the messaging app Signal on her phone, which she did. Natale was not familiar with the Signal app prior to Karen's request. Natale's understanding of Signal was that it was a more confidential way to communicate, as the messages can be auto-deleted after reading. Natale described the arrangement as follows. Karen would send Natale a message on Signal intended for Kearney. Natale would copy and paste the message, photo, video, document into a text message to Kearney. So do you get how this goes? So Karen would send whatever the piece of evidence she wanted Aidan Kearney to see to Natale, and then Natale would pass it on to Aidan Kearney. And Natale said she would send information to 2 phone numbers used by Kearney. And I believe he has a bunch of phones. If my memory serves me right, I thought it was 6. He had 6 different cell phones, which I thought was so amazing. But these kind of disordered people always have a lot of sock puppets and a lot of cell phones and different personalities, and are able to really orchestrate these kind of campaigns using a lot of sock puppets, cell phones, fake aliases. So this is all more about what she shared. So this is Karen. The content of the messages shared by Karen to her were Karen's defense of the charges, including information regarding witnesses, the home address of Trooper Michael Proctor, pictures of witnesses, autopsy photographs, motions filed by her attorneys, police reports, photographs taken by the MSP Crime Scene Services section, and feedback about Kearney's blog posts, social media, and videos. The arrangement began on about April 17th. A check of the text messages on Natalie's phone confirmed Natalie's statements. It appears most of the messages sent by Natalie were authored by Karen. For example, messages would start with "Tell TB," meaning Turtleboy, "from Karen," or "not public, but you and Aidan can see it." And Natalie messages to Kearney were, "We are very grateful," meaning Karen and I are very grateful. Natalie's telling Aidan Kearney, and Kearney responds, "It's my job, glad to help." Kearney would frequently check with Karen if he could use a piece of material sent to him in his blogs and videos, to which Karen would respond to what he could use. One example of material sent to Kearney but not to be shared publicly is the 911 call reporting John O'Keefe's discovery on January 29th, 2022. That's because it's freaking horrific. The audio file was sent to Kearney along with the message, "Do not share." Other examples, including messages sent by Natalie to Kearney, "Urgent, do not publish anything from the report." On Julie Nagel, "Make it clear he didn't just get from us. I get it from us." In other exchange, on May 6th, Kearney's text message 5 photographs that appear to be pictures taken by CSSS of Karen's car, including the taillight. Kearney then asks, "Can you walk me through what these are?" So it's really interesting in these documents. It appears that they are working together to develop a defense narrative. And there are times by Aidan Kearney asking questions and saying, "I don't find that believable. I disagree." So he was the sounding board in some ways, and by asking questions was the co-creator of Karen Reed's they're in discovery. But okay, so Kearney responded, "How did she get them?" Natalie responded, "They're in discovery, but I'm not sure they're public. I am the accused, Aidan." Kearney later attempts to confirm he cannot talk about the photographs on his show that night, to which Natalie responded, "Don't talk about those on the show tonight." Okay, so Karen Reed is just feeding him drips and drabs, and he's so desperate to make everything he can public. That was the impression I got. So this is kind of interesting. On April 29th, Kearney asked if he can use and talk about different material on his YouTube channel, and Natalie, acting as the intermediary with Karen, responds to Kearney, "Make it clear he didn't just get it from us, but don't show the exhibits, just read them. And please tell him not to share the title. It has Yanetti's initials in it, DRY, referencing David R. Yanetti." In mid-May, Kearney sent Natalie a picture of himself wearing a t-shirt depicting House Long to Die in the Cold. and Karen approves it. Oh, no, Alan Jackson approves it. So he asks if he can wear it, and he says, really, you asked Alan? In apparent reference to one of Karen's attorney, Alan Jackson. Natale responds, absolutely. Kearney was seen wearing the shirt at the July 25th court date as shown in the pictures above. Over the course of the text message conversation, Natale forwards personal information of the witnesses. In one part of the conversation, Kearney wrote, anything else I should talk about? I haven't hit in the blogs yet. Feel like I'm out of new material. Natale stated a second person who was acting as an intermediary between Karen and Kearney, John Silvera. The statement is corroborated in several text messages between Natale and Karen. One such message from Natale to Kearney, apparently again authored by Karen, reads, he's confused. John sent a report beginning with the 12, and it was about Julie Nagel, nothing to do with the grand jury testimony on Colin. Kearney's next text messages, I won't use any grand jury testimony. The formatting is obvious sick, so meaning it's a mistake, obviously different from the police reports. Several additional messages state check your email, suggesting documents were sent to Kearney outside of text messages. On several occasions, Kearney questions Karen's defense theories. In one such case, on April 23rd, 2023, Kearney doesn't understand how Karen knows Colin Albert was at 34 Fairview Road when John O'Keefe arrived. Kearney sends the message, hey, need to talk to you ASAP. It's really important for me to know how we know Colin was in that house. Natale sent the message, and Turtleboy can't say the defense had a source that Colin was there. It's important for us and Turtleboy. Kearney responded, need to talk, emergency. Well, I'm starting to lose confidence. Colin was in that house and I'm freaking out. Natale sent the message, quote, Brian and Nicole and Chris and Julie all testified he was there, but I can't send grand jury testimony because it's sealed. Kearney continued to ask questions. Natale replied, she's signaling you and check your signal. So meaning signal, that app, which is probably an encrypted app. Kearney who asks who, and Natale responds her, meaning Karen Reed. In a similar exchange, on May 7th, Kearney wrote, not gonna lie, this is getting old. I don't like the riddle. Put the clues together stuff. This isn't a board game. By now she knows I can be trusted. What you told me means the 227 Google search makes no sense. So they're kind of working out their strategy. This doesn't make sense, this whole Google search. And it's very interesting. Maybe that's when, I don't know, did they have another story before they settled on Jen McCabe being a conspirator, or was she always the conspirator from the beginning? Hard to know. During the interview, Natale discussed a May 3rd court date for Karen's criminal case. Kearney requested for someone to save him a seat in the courtroom. So now, this is, I think, so interesting now, because this is now Nick Rocco. Nick Rocco's in the one with the courtroom. Also, the DUI guy, he's the one in the courtroom. Thanks to Karen, as Karen's supporter, Karen's friend. But back then, back in May, it was Aidan Kearney. I'm excited and honored that her parents wants to sit next to me in court. The seat arrangement is described in a May 2nd message by Natale. This is all 2023. I've tried to coordinate Turtleboy, John, Donnie. My parents have a full row with their lawyer my brother and Ingrid. He can sit behind them. So Natale recalled Kearney being invited to a lunch with Karen and her defense attorneys, including Alan Jackson and David Unetti, after May 3rd court date. A check of the phone revealed one of the first text messages to Kearney. Natale stated Karen and her team will be likely to be convening at the Omni. So he gets really nervous. He's going to have lunch with them. And then Natale encourages him to go. And then he texts back eventually and says, we, meaning Karen's David Unetti and Alan Jackson. And Karen Reed and I all had a great time. On May 6th, Kearney texted Natale, can I see the hair? So this is the hair that's supposed to be on the bumper, I assume. She showed me in person. So I assume at lunch they were looking at evidence together. Natale then sent Kearney 2 pictures of what appear to be hair next to measuring tape, often used by CSSS when documenting evidence. So, and there is a footnote. A hair was recovered from the rear of Reed's Lexus following the seizure of her vehicle. The recovered hair has been tested by the MSP crime lab and is currently the subject of ongoing motions. And it notes these photographs are not part of any public filing. So this was all sealed stuff or private stuff. A check of the messages from Natale's phone reveals several instances where it appears Kearney communicated directly with attorney Alan Jackson and David Unetti. For those in the back, one more time. A check of the text messages from Natale's phone reveals several instances when it appears Kearney communicated directly with attorneys Alan Jackson and David Unetti, the first being on April 22nd, 2023. Natale sends Kearney a message. Did you talk to AJ today? And Kearney responded, just saw his text, gonna call him in a bit. On May, so this is like they're right in from so early on. I mean, meaning the lawyers. I was shocked. On May 2nd, even though I knew that they were involved, I didn't realize for how long they had been involved. Alan Jackson and David Unetti, this is correct. On May 2nd, Natale sent Kearney the message, Colin has a lawyer, ask Unetti about it. On May 5th, Natale sent Kearney the message, tell Turtleboy from me, be strong, Aidan. Get down for a day, but wake up and keep fighting tomorrow. Please call Alan and spitball your issues with him if you want to. Nothing gives you a shot in the arm like talking with AJ. Maybe we all should. Oh, if we aren't, we're so lucky to be able to get a shot in the arm from Alan Jackson, right? Natale later asked, did you call him? And Kearney replies, just did. On several occasions, the nature of the relationship between Karen, her defense attorneys, and Kearney is discussed. In one such exchange on May 7th, Kearney stated he disagrees with Alan Jackson's theory of when O'Keefe was allegedly moved to the front lawn. See, they still haven't worked this out. He disagrees here, and they still have really no whole theory of how he got to the front lawn. Keep in mind, Karen, AJ, and myself don't officially talk. We talk unofficially. Wink, wink. That's my take on it. It would be normal for me to have opinions that different from the defense. Oh, wow. I can't believe he's a writer. But maybe he's writing quickly. It would be normal for me to have opinions that, I guess he means are different or differ from the defense, although we all agree that Karen had nothing to do with it. I made it clear that my theory of how he died is simply that, a theory. If there's more information I haven't been given, then that can prove me theory is wrong, I'm all ears. Me theory is wrong. Natale responded, I hear you, Aidan. It's good to not be completely in sync. We are open to other theories. So doesn't this sound like they're creating a defense with Turtleboy? With someone with possibly a criminal mind? Certainly, in my opinion, has the criminal behavior. In public settings, Kearney and the attorneys for Karen Reed have denied communicating or mischaracterized the nature of their communication. On September 27th, 2023, Boston Magazine, this is Gretchen Voss's article, I believe, published an article about the homicide of John O'Keefe and Karen Reed's defense. For the article, the author interviewed Karen, her attorney, and Aidan Kearney. The article, listen to that. Karen, her attorneys, and Aidan Kearney. Talk about getting one side. Nowhere in that is anyone else. The article describes Kearney's involvement in the case from April through the July 25th court date. After describing how the author interviewed Kearney at his residence, the article states both Kearney and Reed's defense team say they have never been in contact. Did you get that? You guys listening? For those in the back, they have never been in contact with one another. On October 20th, 2023, on his X account, formerly Twitter, associated with David Nettie at Boston Defender, posted a response to another post alleging Yannetti tipped off Kearney about the story. The post in part reads, quote, "He," meaning Kearney, "and I never communicated until after his first piece on the Karen Reed case. I observed text messages between Natale and Kearney containing discussions about an investigation being conducted by the FBI and U.S. Attorney's Office. On one such occasion, in an April 23rd message sent by Natale to Kearney, that reads, "Not public. The feds have been involved longer than anyone is likely guessing." On April 28th, Natale sends Kearney the following message. But I don't understand why he doesn't mention more the feds are involved. The first assistant U.S. attorney, they don't shoot and miss. They have a case and way more evidence than we do. I know this for a fact. Jen McCabe testifies this coming week. I'm not sure about the others. Kearney responds later on April 28th. Has there been any new information about the FBI investigation and handing out subpoenas? Natale responds, no new info, just that they are already present, already to present the case to the grand jury as we speak, and the DA's office has been informed. This is confirmed 1,000%. And so she spoke to David Yannetti. So this is all coming from David Yannetti leaking stuff about the grand jury and who's testifying. On May 5th, Kearney stated he heard a rumor 20 FBI agents were seen in Canton for possible arrests. Boy, they've been waiting for those arrests forever, right? 2 days later, Natale sent Kearney a message that contained, in part, not public. Levy confirmed no swarms of FBI were in Canton 2 days ago. And then you can see, and they explain how the U.S. Attorney's Office is run with Josh Levy is the first assistant, and he doesn't typically prosecute. Like, he never prosecutes. He just delegates to the assistants within the divisions, i.e. Adam Deutsch, but he's running this grand jury. At the May 3rd Norfolk Superior Court date, when in open court before Judge Canone and television cameras, attorney Alan Jackson reported federal authorities have gotten involved in circumstances surrounding this case and have impaled a federal grand jury to investigate some of these circumstances. Following the court hearing, Alan Jackson, David Yannetti, and Karen Reed spoke to the media on the front steps of the Norfolk Superior Court. The Commonwealth later filed a motion requesting Reed's defense attorneys refrain from making extrajudicial statements. And basically they just say, like, hey, we're just saying that sources are reporting it, meaning, and then they cite Turtleboy. So they give the tip to Turtleboy, then they announce it in court or to the press, and then in court, this is actually in court, and then cite Turtleboy. So it's like it's like a snake eating its own tail. It all goes back to Karen Reed, or from David Yannetti to Natale, from David Yannetti to Karen, to Natale, to Aidan, and it all goes around and around again. And those are its sources. Other people are saying, not us. It's so hilarious. So let me see. Let me see if I can move forward. Kearney denies ever spoken to Carrie Reed. He described how Kearney denies in an August 29, 2023 video having ever spoken to Karen Reed. That's what he describes how a follower of his blog connected him with a friend of Karen Reed, which is where he receives his information. That's what journalists do. They talk to sources, and it goes on. And he goes on to say, that doesn't mean I'm communicating with her or her lawyers. Talk about an admission in the negative. On October 30th, 2023, Kearney appeared on a live YouTube show, New Bedford Live. At the 37-minute mark, Kearney is asked if he ever met Karen Reed. Kearney responded, I've seen her in court. I've met her family. I talk to them, not every day or anything like that, but I've had many pleasant conversations with them. But Karen likes to keep a distance, I think, between herself and me, simply because they're after her. I'm trying to do the accent. They're after her, for one thing. They're after her. And number two, it's just, affects my professional reputation if, she's my BFF or something like that. But I fully support her. I think after this is all over, her and I will be friends, but for now, it's about business. Several text exchanges suggest Kearney and Karen communicated directly without Natale acting as intermediary. These messages are in addition to the previously mentioned messages asking Kearney to check his Signal. Natale stated she never communicated with Kearney on the Signal app, and those text messages were informing Kearney that Karen was sending him messages directly on the Signal app. One exchange on May 6th involves Kearney disbelieving a portion of Karen Reed's defense and is frustrated. He texted Natale that he tried calling her, meaning Karen. Natale asked 15 minutes later, are you guys on the phone now? And Kearney responds, yes. And 45 minutes later, we're still talking. Natale stated she believed Kearney and Reed spoke on the phone at length during this time. In another such exchange on May 19th, Kearney and Natale are exchanging messages about whether Kearney should write about a certain topic. Natale sent the message, quote, let me run it by her. My bet is she says yes, unquote. The next message sent by Natale, acting as an intermediary for Karen, is as follows. Yeah, he already asked me, but it's his call. So Karen Reed has been interviewed by other media outlets. She has not acknowledged speaking with Kearney. Furthermore, she took steps to provide Kearney non-public information while appearing to be distant, including using an intermediary, controlling what he can publish publicly, and using a messaging application outside of traditional text messaging. So all of that makes it look like you're doing something sus when you have a kind of intermediary using an app like Signal, and all the time publicly denying it. And somehow Kearney's getting all this private information. And in the meantime, they say in this, he's buying a Lexus with a personal check and saying that my mother would be upset if she knew I bought this Lexus. On June 23rd, Natale asked Kearney to talk to Karen about her being mad at Natale. So there's a falling out between Natale and Karen in June 2023. The text messages frequency dramatically dropped. Kearney responds that he doesn't want to play mediator in the middle. So Natale asked Kearney to talk to Karen about her being mad. And Kearney says, I don't want to be stuck in the middle of you two, just like Natale was for like, I don't know how long. A special prosecutor convened a grand jury to investigate the intimidation of witnesses involved in the Commonwealth versus Reed. A grand jury summons was issued to Verizon requesting call details for 2 of Kearney's phone numbers. The subscriber for these accounts is Aidan Kearney. Oh, so maybe I'm wrong. I thought I read somewhere that he had like 6 phones, but maybe I was mistaken. The subscriber for these counts is Aidan Kearney. A check of those records revealed 189 phone calls between these numbers and the phone numbers Natale provided to investigators for Karen Reed. The duration of these phone calls between Turtleboy and Karen Reed totaled an excess of 40 hours. So 189 calls, 40 hours plus of conversation. So as soon as the middle person left, they got really, this is where he really enters even more. I mean, if even more of a close relationship with Karen Reed. A check of the phone records from Kearney's phone revealed communications with cell phones associated with David Yannetti and Alan Jackson. A phone number ending in 5359 was checked through LexisNexis and was associated with David Yannetti. The 5359 number communicates with Kearney's 2 phones 29 times, including 9 times from April 20th to May 2nd. So 29 calls from David Yannetti to Turtleboy. A phone number ending in 0555 is associated with Alan Jackson, and it's associated with Kearney's 2 phones 29 times, including 3 times from April 20th to May 1st. Aidan Kearney was arrested on October 10th, 2023, pursuant to several arrest warrants issued out of Staunton District Court, the arraignment in Staunton, D.C. on the same date, which was widely reported by the local media. On October 12th, 2023, Natale received a call on her cell phone from which is the main office number for Alan Jackson's law firm, Worksman, Jackson, and Quinn. Natale stated she did not answer the call, nor did she return the call. She stated she has never spoken to Alan Jackson, David Yannetti, or any other attorney representing Karen in the Commonwealth versus Reed prior to October 12th or since. Kind of hard to believe, isn't it? On December 20th, 2023, the Norfolk grand jury returned indictments charging Aidan Kearney with 9 counts of intimidation of witnesses, 5 counts of illegal picketing of a witness, and 3 counts of conspiracy to intimidate a witness. In December 2023, I communicated and interviewed a witness relative to ongoing conspiracy to intimidate witnesses of the Commonwealth versus Reed case. I interviewed her at her residence with another investigator. Given widespread media attention and ongoing intimidations of witnesses involving this case, this witness will be referred to as the pseudonym Jane. The purpose of using the Jane in the affidavit is to prevent public disclosure of her name. So basically, she dated Aidan Kearney, and she would communicate with Kearney's, two Facebook profiles, Clarence Woods Emerson and Aidan Kearney. Jane states that she would begin communicating with a phone number that, and Kearney and Jane met in person following a Commonwealth versus Reed court date and went to her apartment. After that meeting, Jane and Kearney began having a romantic relationship with Kearney, staying over at her apartment Friday nights. In the beginning of their relationship, Kearney stated he was close with Karen Reed's family. Okay. He would later state to Jane that he speaks with Karen Reed every day. Jane showed me a screenshot that Kearney allegedly sent her showing multiple calls on a certain day that showed Karen Reed signal audio in the call log. Kearney told Jane that there was an intermediary between Kearney and Reed, a woman by the name of Natale. Kearney stated Natale and Reed were angry with each other. Kearney stated to Jane that he began talking to Reed directly. Jane stated Kearney and Reed communicate using the Signal app because it's encrypted. Big surprise there, right? And Jane stated Kearney runs everything by Karen, meaning all of the blog posts and social media content is approved by Reed prior to Kearney publishing. So Kearney described Reed as difficult, controlling, and gets irritated with him. Almost, which is kind of interesting because that is how I imagined from some of the descriptions in some of the filings. She's got that she's very controlling and has a temper. And you can even see it in court where that one moment she got really angry at Alan Jackson. Couldn't control herself and got really sort of feral and moved her whole body forward towards him. Jane stated Kearney showed her material related to the investigation of the homicide, including the 911 call, cruiser video footage before it was leaked on social media. Jane described one instance where Reed controls what Kearney would publish, and that's the video. I described that. Jane stated different sources of financial benefit for Kearney because it's always about the money and it's about the status, right? The clicks. These innocence fraud campaigns make people very rich, but they also give them some kind of status. I mean, before the Roccos were being interviewed by Court TV, it was Aidan Kearney. He was the go-to for Karen Reed. He was really as close as you're going to come to a media spokesperson in this case, I would say, before Nick Rocco took over. Jane stated Kearney is doing well with donations. Kearney had alluded to the fact that he did not pay for a Lexus SUV. He alluded to the fact that he did not pay for a Lexus SUV he recently acquired. Kearney made statements similar to, if my frugal mother ever found out I paid for the Lexus, she would be mad. And even if I didn't pay for it, what's wrong with that? A check of RMV records revealed that Lexus was purchased in the end of June 2023. Further records revealed the vehicle was paid in full using a personal check. So I assume they mean that's his personal check, but was he given the money for it? And we know that Karen Reed's brother is a Lexus dealer. Was he given some kind of deal? Or Jane stated she was told by Kearney that Reed's attorneys were working with the U.S. Attorney's Office, specifically acting U.S. Attorney Josh Levy, Kearney would talk a lot with the federal grand jury and Levy with Jane. Oh, talk a lot about the federal grand jury and Levy, Josh Levy with Jane. And Karen Reed was interviewed by federal law enforcement. Jane also shared other comments Kearney learned from Reed that corroborated by other information known in this affiant. Jane was served with summons to appear before the grand jury. Okay, so it goes into the assault charge. So that kind of really gives you an idea, I think, and if you don't believe me, here, hold on 1 second. I think a good visual, we'll end on a good visual of this case. But, what you get from this, if you get anything from this episode, is all through this, Turtleboy was telling his audience, the defense attorneys were telling the court that no, this was just the people were reporting it, that there was just absolutely no connection between Karen Reed or Karen Reed's legal team and Turtleboy. And they were absolutely colluding. And it would not surprise me if Karen Reed doesn't, say, get a significant sentence or doesn't get convicted of these charges in a way that's satisfying to the O'Keefe family. If she's charged, if they charge her after this trial is over with witness intimidation, it would be a little akin to the OJ civil case. And there's an interesting part, I can't remember where I was reading, where Karen Reed, maybe it was in an interview. Okay, so this is Aidan Kearney before he got really frustrated. So he's threatening to go to Tully and spill something he knows that will blow up Karen Reed's world. And it can't be anything akin to what he knows about her guilt in this case, because it's basically about this case, the witness harassment case. Because if he talked about what he knows about her guilt to, say, Lolly or the DA's office, they're in the middle of trial A and B, he can't ever say she's guilty because that's his bread and butter. And he enjoys, I think, the deception of it and the dishonesty of it. That's my take. But here's David Yannetti. It's going to go really fast. So here's Alan Jackson. Here's Karen Reed. Here's David Yannetti coming in. It's going to slap Turtleboy's butt. So keep your eye on David Yannetti in the red tie and where his hand goes to the left of your screen. Did you see that? Let me go one more time. So thank you for the pictures of the first responder, right? We went way back, and that's the same sort of technique that Reed's legal team has done. Digging way into people's social history, media history. All right, that's what I have today. I think I made it under an hour. Can't believe it. Please hit the like button. Thanks, Heisenberg. This proves they were always full of crap. Thanks. Subscribe to the channel. Share this episode. I'll be back tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern with another episode. I'll see you at the Society Pages channel. Have a great night, everybody.